Numbers chapter 26 was a mammoth chapter, 65 verses, giving the results of the second census of the children of Israel, as they are on the verge of entering the promised land. There were 603,000 soldiers in the first census, and there's nearly 602,000 in this second census. But there are only 2 men who are over 20 who were included in both censuses. That is Caleb the son of Jephunneh and Joshua the son of Nun, the 2 spies who believed God that they could enter the land. God will permit them to enter the land. The census shows that Judah was the largest tribal group, 75,000, and so they will get a large territory, and it turns out that their territory is in the south. And this, of course, sets the scene for the future, when the nation will become divided to Israel and Judah. Simeon, a small group, will occupy territory with Judah. But the concluding comment in that chapter was to point out again that Moses' mother was Levi's daughter. Levi would not have been more than 10 years older than Joseph, and so was probably around 50 when he came in down to Egypt, and he died at 137. So his daughter Jochebed was born probably 80 years after they came to Egypt. Moses was born 80 years before they left Egypt. And if they were there 215 years, which is about right, then she would have been about somewhere around 50 when Moses was born. Miriam and Aaron were older than Moses. Another comment that was made in that chapter was reference to Zelophehad, who had no sons, only daughters. And the ruling was that in that case the daughters would take the inheritance rather than the name of the family being lost. So we take up the reading now in Numbers chapter 27. Then came the daughters of Zelophehad, the son of Hepher, the son of Gilead, the son of Machir, the son of Manasseh, from the families of Manasseh, the son of Joseph. And these were the names of his daughters, Mahlah, Noah, Hoglah, Milcah, and Tirzah. And they stood before Moses, before Eleazar the priest, and before the leaders and all the congregation, by the doorway of the tabernacle of meeting, saying, Our father died in the wilderness, but he was not in the company of those who gathered together against the Lord, in company with Korah, but he died in his own sin, and he had no sons. Why should the name of our father be removed from among his family, because he had no son? Give us a possession among our father's brothers. So Moses brought the case before the Lord. And the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, The daughters of Zelophehad speak what is right. You shall surely give them a possession of inheritance among their father's brothers, and cause the inheritance of their father to pass to them. And you shall speak to the children of Israel, saying, If a man dies and has no son, then you shall cause his inheritance to pass to his daughter. If he has no daughter, then you shall give his inheritance to his brothers. If he has no brothers, then you shall give his inheritance to his father's brothers. And if his father has no brothers, then you shall give his inheritance to the relative closest to him in his family, and he shall possess it. And it shall be to the children of Israel a statute of judgment, just as the Lord commanded Moses. Now the Lord said to Moses, Go up to this Mount Abarim, and see the land which I have given to the children of Israel. And when you have seen it, you shall be gathered to your people, as Aaron your brother was gathered. For in the wilderness of Zin, during the strife of the congregation, you rebelled against my command to hallow me at the waters before their eyes. These are the waters of Meribah, at Kadesh, in the wilderness of Zin. Then Moses spoke to the Lord, saying, Let the Lord, the God of the spirits of all flesh, set a man over the congregation, who may go out before them, and go in before them, who may lead them out and bring them in, that the congregation of the Lord may not be like sheep which have no shepherd. And the Lord said to Moses, take Joshua the son of Nun with you, a man in whom is the Spirit, and lay your hand on him. Set him before Eleazar the priest and before all the congregation, and inaugurate him in their sight. And you shall give some of your authority to him, that all the congregation of the children of Israel may be obedient. He shall stand before Eleazar the priest, who shall inquire before the Lord for him, by the judgment of the Urim. At his word they shall go out, and at his word they shall come in. He and all the children of Israel with him, all the congregation. So Moses did as the Lord commanded him. He took Joshua and set him before Eleazar the priest, and before all the congregation. And he laid his hands on him, and inaugurated him, just as the Lord commanded, by the hand of Moses. My name's Arthur, and I thank you for joining me as we share these verses together. The first part of the chapter dealt with what's called Levirate marriage. The fact that the inheritance of the family was to be kept within the family. Even today there is a lot of fuss about inheritance, and we have a system of people writing a will, but that will can be contested if it is not given to the family. And this principle is laid down here. God would allocate the territory to the tribes at the top level and individual families by lot within the territories of the tribes. And so we have the family of David associated with Bethlehem, that family inheritance passing down from the time that the children of Israel occupied the land. But there was one family who had no sons. Zelophehad was a leader in Israel from the tribe of Manasseh, but he only had daughters. And so his daughters come before Moses and say, "Let us have the inheritance of our father." They would marry someone from the same tribe, but the territory would be counted as their father's, and their children would inherit the land and continue the name of their father, setting out the principle that it's not just the immediate relatives, but whenever there was an inheritance, it was to pass to the nearest relative. Now it's time for the Lord to take Moses from among them. The expression used is that he should be gathered to his people. This expression was used of Abraham, Isaac, Ishmael, of Aaron, and it points to the fact that death is not the end. It's just moving from this realm to another realm where God's people are gathered, if you're a believer, and the unbelievers are gathered, if you're not a believer. So Moses will go up the mountain, survey the land, and there he will die. But his immediate concern is for the nation. Who will lead these people when he is gone? Please, Lord, appoint someone to be a leader, that they should not be like sheep with no shepherd. And so the Lord agrees with Moses and tells him to take Joshua the son of Nun. Joshua was one of only 2 old men among the people, in his 80s, but he would lead the children of Israel for another 30 years. And he was the one who was Moses' servant when Moses went up the mountain to receive the 10 Commandments. He was one of the 12 spies who spied out the land. So he was very familiar with the word of God and the ways of God, had witnessed Moses' life. And so the Lord has chosen him to be a leader, but not to be quite of the same stature as Moses. You shall give some of your authority to him, that all the congregation of the children of Israel may be obedient. Joshua would need to work with Eleazar the priest to discern the mind of God. And Eleazar the priest, with the Urim and Thummim, would advise him. Leadership is not just a one-man exercise. Throughout the scriptures you have at least 2 people, one who is the focus and one who works with them. And so the initial model here is with Joshua the son of Nun and Eleazar the priest. Joshua is the head of the army, but Eleazar seeks the mind of God. And so Moses inaugurated Joshua to lead his people.